All right, this is another story from my Once Upon a Time story collection, and it is the magical story of Cinderella. So, here is the magical story of Cinderella. Once upon a time, long before you or I were born, there lived a beautiful girl named Cinderella, and she lived with her two ugly stepsisters who weren't as pretty as Cinderella, but they didn't want Cinderella to be more pretty than them. So one day there was a knock on the door at Cinderella's house, and it was an invitation to go to a big fancy ball held at the castle of the prince. Well, the two stepsisters didn't want Cinderella to go to the ball. They wanted her to stay home and clean. So they went and left Cinderella at home. Cinderella started to cry, but from out of nowhere, a puff of smoke appeared. And once the puff of smoke had settled down, Cinderella realized somebody was inside that puff of smoke. And the woman said, "I'm your fairy godmother, Cinderella. I am going to help you go to the ball." So, what happened was the fairy godmother left and said, "I'll be right back." And the fairy godmother went into the garden and found a big giant pumpkin. She waved her magic wand over the giant pumpkin, and it turned into a stagecoach for Cinderella. And then she went into the stable and told Cinderella that she was going to get 4 white mice from the stable. She waved her magic wand over the white mice, and they turned into 4 beautiful horses. And then she went to the woods behind Cinderella's house and found 2 giant rats. And she waved her magic wand over the rats, and they turned into 2 handsome coachmen. Now, the fairy godmother told Cinderella to come close because the magic would wear off at midnight. The magic would wear off at midnight. So she gave Cinderella a nice big ball gown and said, "Don't forget, the magic will wear off." And the fairy godmother left just as quickly as she arrived. Now, Cinderella arrived at the ball and was the most gorgeous woman there, caught the eye of the prince. And the prince had realized that this is the most beautiful woman. So they decided to dance. They danced some more. They danced more. And they even danced a little bit more. And they danced until it was almost midnight. And Cinderella was having too much fun with the prince to even realize that it was almost midnight, and she forgot the warning of the fairy godmother. The fairy godmother, remember, said that the magic would wear off at midnight. Well, it was too late because Cinderella's stagecoach had already turned back into a pumpkin. The 4 horses had already turned back into 4 white mice, and the coachman had already turned back into 2 rats and had scurried off into the woods. Now Cinderella realized she didn't have much time to get out of the castle before her clothes went back into rags. Cinderella ran out of the place so fast that she left something there, and her clothes turned back into rags just as she got out of the castle. The prince wanted to see what Cinderella left behind, and it was a shoe made of glass. The prince was very excited about this because he knew that glass shoe could only fit one person. So the prince ordered the servant to go searching for the woman that the glass shoe fit. So the servant was searching for days and days, and the servant also searched for 3 months until the servant had come to the house of Cinderella. The servant knocked on the door, and the door was opened by the 2 ugly stepsisters. The servant told the stepsisters that he had to search for the woman whose feet would fit this shoe. The first stepsister said, "Ooh, try me, try me." So the stepsister tried to squeeze into the shoe, but she couldn't fit. The second stepsister said, "Ooh, try me, try me." So she tried to squeeze into the shoe, but she couldn't fit either. Just as the servant was about to leave, he noticed Cinderella. The stepsister said, "Don't waste your time with her. The shoe is definitely not going to fit her." The servant said, "I have to try everybody." So Cinderella slipped her foot into the shoe and realized, you know what happened? It was a perfect match. And Cinderella's foot fit in the shoe. So the servant ran back to the prince to tell the prince what had happened. the prince went to Cinderella's house, took Cinderella away, and they got married, and they lived happily ever after. And that is the story of Cinderella.